Hello and welcome to the VOP Business Show. I am Choma Innocent. We begin the VOP Business Show with the World Bank urging the Nigerian government to use the savings from the removal of fuel subsidy to alleviate the suffering of the poorest and most vulnerable people in the country. According to the bank, the government can use the money saved from the subsidy removal to fund the social programs that will benefit the people. The World Bank Country Director for Nigeria, Shubham Chaudhuri, made this call during a virtual press briefing on Tuesday. He said the government's decision to remove fuel subsidy was a bold and necessary step, but that it would have an impact on the people. The World Bank Director also called on the government to implement policies that would help to cushion the impact of the subsidy removal on the people. He said that the bank was ready to support the government in its efforts to mitigate the impact of subsidy removal on citizens. The Nigerian government had removed the fuel subsidy in May 2023 as part of its effort to reduce the country's fiscal deficit. The move has been met with mixed reactions from the public. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has released a circular titled Transaction Limits on Contactless Payments, which outlines the maximum transaction and daily cumulative limits for contactless payment through accounts or wallets in Nigeria. The maximum amount for a single transaction is 15,000 naira and the maximum daily cumulative limit is 50,000 naira. Transactions that exceed this limit will require appropriate verification and authorization. The guidelines also define contactless technology as a payment method that enables payment instruments to be used without physical contact with devices. Now, the increase in production costs due to the high cost of alternative energy sources could lead to a decline in the competitiveness of Nigerian manufacturers who are already facing challenges in the global market. The high cost of doing business in Nigeria has been a hindrance to the growth of the manufacturing sector, which is critical to the country's economic development. The proposed electricity tariff hike, which is expected to take effect in July 2023, has been met with the opposition from various stakeholders, including manufacturers, who are calling for a review of the decision. The Nigerian government has been urged to address the challenges facing the power sector, including inadequate generation capacity, poor transmission infrastructure, and high distribution losses to ensure a stable, efficient, and reasonable priced electricity supply in the country. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, has reported that its members spent over 144.5 billion naira on alternative energy sources in 2022. That is a 77 billion naira increase from the previous year. Director General of MAN, Mr. Segun Kadir, expressed concerns over the proposed electricity tariff hike by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, warning that this could lead to a surge in production costs and an increase in the prices of goods and services across the country. He lamented the absence of a stable, efficient, and reasonable priced electricity supply in Nigeria, which he said has forced many manufacturing industries to seek alternative energy sources such as diesel, which have become exorbitantly expensive. Now, Vice President Kashim Shettima says the federal government will ensure quick access to single-digit loans for Nigerian small businesses. The Vice President made this pledge on Tuesday in a message to mark the 2023 World Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises MSME Day. He said the federal government was aware of the impact of fuel subsidy removal on MSMEs and working towards addressing it. Nigeria is home to many SMEs, most of whom are struggling due to absence of critical infrastructure and a very high cost of doing business. Let's take a moment and play back portions of the interview my colleague Moses Humphrey had earlier today with experts on VOP TV's flagship breakfast program, VOP This Morning.
And good morning to you, John Akarele.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, then. So let me start with you, John. Single interest loans for MSMEs. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Yes, I think it sounds good, but I think we've got something like this in the past. And the only thing we can believe now is when the implementation is done and true MSMEs and SMEs can actually access this loan. And that's when we can really say that, yes, this is not only a lip service or it's just a media trial, so to say.
Yeah.
So for me, I think it's the right way to go. But if you remember, this is not the first time we haven't seen something like that come up as proclamations. So I think in another way, it shows that this administration means well. I think they've started on a good note. But then I don't want to be overexcited now, but I want us to wait till the time when this is actually executed. And then the SMEs actually feel the impact. They have access to funds. They can get the funds easily. Businesses can thrive. And the economy can start building up again. That is when I can now believe for a fact that yes, there's going to be a fast track system from the federal government. But for now, to me, it's still a lip service.
Now, the Ikeja Electric, which is Nigeria's largest power distribution company in Lagos, has generated a total revenue of 773 billion naira in 8 years. According to data obtained from Data Fight Research Lagos, Ikeja Disco earned the highest revenue among all distribution companies in Nigeria. The revenue was generated between 2015 and 2022, with Yola Disco coming in last with 70 billion naira. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development has launched the Productive Capacities Index, PCI, a tool that will help countries track their economic performance and make more informed policies. The PCI, which is accessible through a dedicated online portal, maps the productive capacities of 194 economies and provides a multi-dimensional measure of economic inputs and potential as opposed to outputs. It will serve as a better measure of development than traditional benchmarks such as gross domestic product, GDP. The index is expected to help countries respond to a call by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres to move beyond GDP and measure the things that really matter to people and their communities. The PCI is designed to help countries make more accurate diagnostics and measurements of their economic performance and shape more effective policies and their implementation. It measures countries' abilities to produce goods and deliver services which are critical for international trade and global production value chains. The PCI is a powerful and a practical tool for governments to track progress over time and forge informed policies to plug development gaps. Now, the Nigerian energy stocks have been on a roll this year, with the NGX Oil Gas Index, which tracks the performance of the energy sector, yielding 50.7%. Since April. The surge in Nigerian energy stocks is attributed to investor optimism and market-friendly reforms, including the deregulation of petrol prices, the removal of fuel subsidies, and the adoption of a flexible exchange rate. Oil and gas equities have returned 66.5% year to date. The strong performance of Nigerian energy stocks is expected to continue in the near term, driven by rising oil prices and a recovery in global demand. And that is a wrap on the business update right here on Voice of the People Television. We would like you to subscribe and engage us on YouTube. It is Voice of the People TV, and on other social media platforms at VOP TV Live. Thank you for staying with us. I am Chioma Innocent.